Farm4Profit podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm4Profit podcast. Learn about farming while having a laugh. Farm4Profit podcast.
Hey listeners, welcome back to the Farm for Profit podcast. This is Tanner and Corey sitting out here live at Husker Harvest Days. We are sitting in the Maya booth. What a gracious partner we have to allow us to sit up here on their grass.
Heck yeah.
Underneath the tent.
Beautiful morning here, kicking it off. Husker Harvest. This is our first interview, so
That's right.
got to get the jitters worked out, right?
You will hear a little bit of breeze on the audio, and that is
breezy.
just to imagine yourself sitting here with us. So allow your brain to just immerse into the Husker Harvest Days total feel.
Yeah. A little update on harvest out here. Last year, I think we saw 26 harvest activity fields on the way over on I-80, and we saw one yesterday. So
yeah, we did
not
see a
as
couple
much.
more fields that have been taken out, but
Yeah.
we prefaced harvest activity meant something had to be running in that field.
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if our guest today has more perspective on why that feels like it's behind
Yep.
or why it's not. But listeners, as always, farm4profitllc@gmail.com. If you want to be a guest or you know somebody that should be a guest, please send those suggestions to us. That's how we find these people, and we really appreciate all the reviews that you leave us. So head over to Apple, Spotify, YouTube, hit a like, hit a subscribe, share this with your friends and family, and then let us know what you think. If the wind's annoying to you, then tell us.
Yep.
We don't care, but thanks for sharing. I'm kidding.
You can
All
also
of your
call or
opinions
text
matter.
515-207-9640. That'll get you to Tanner's voicemail. And, you could even call during the show. We'll put you on there.
We tried to answer one yesterday in the pickup on the way.
got scared.
Somebody hung up.
Yep.
What a sad, sad situation. But that should be a really good episode. We're going to have a little bit of fun, kick off our day, and if we don't have enough energy, the Rachels are going to whip us into shape.
There we go.
All right. You ready to introduce our guest?
I am.
Fire away.
Still no music?
It just,
Man, you've just been making me do no music.
I put it in
Just
after
raw.
the fact. I know.
You didn't put it in last time.
I didn't?
No, it was just raw.
On Jason's?
No, just raw.
Uh-oh.
All right, I'm a professional. I can do this. Today on the Farm for Fun show, we're at the 2024 Husker Harvest Days getting kicked off, and we meet up with a guy that has been making really big strides in the world of ag financials, profitability, which is right up our alley, mainly Tanner's. This is a Farm for Fun show, but I do want to preface it's probably going to sound more like a Farm for Profit show, as I'm sure Tanner is going to geek out with this dude. He is a husband, dad, ag lender, farmer, avid marathoner. He fills X with great content to help your farm be more profitable and even helps you think through the process of purchasing land with these crazy markets. He also has a weekly newsletter, and you can find more on his website, farm640.com. Please welcome from South Central Nebraska, Mr. Grant Wiese. Since it's a fun show, it's got to be Lil Weezy.
Well, we got to get my name right. So
Yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna do it, let's do it.
I do apologize. I put out a little teaser, and I never had said your name or heard anyone say your name out loud. I've just seen it all over Twitter, X, and I always just said Wiese.
Well, I think that was an outdoor comment that you made, so the wind blew over, and
There you
no
go.
one honestly
Yeah, no,
could
thank
hear
you.
or
Thank
notice.
you.
Wasn't paying attention at all. So
Thank you. So welcome to the show,
Thank you.
Grant. This is a fun show. We learn about you. We will get into all that stuff, but
Yeah.
let's learn where Grant came from, who you are.
yeah. So I grew up on a farm in northeast Nebraska. We're corn, soybeans. We rotate every year. We're half irrigated, half dry land, and I grew up with cattle and hogs as well. So we got into the livestock there. We had a small feedlot which went away in 2010, and we're still doing isowean to finish hogs. So getting a little bit of the livestock there. I obviously moved away from the farm, being in South Central Nebraska now. So my dad and brother get to enjoy those piggies back there, but the kids love going back and seeing them.
Yeah.
So I'm still farming up that way though, up in northeast Nebraska.
So you're still part of the farm.
Still a part of the farm. I help financially with the family, that side of the operation, and then I rent ground and own ground that way as well. My passion is ag real estate, and so I can't get away from it, even though I'm not there on the day-to-day basis.
That's pretty cool. So what moved you off the farm? Are you ready to power through your harvest? Meet the Maya corn heads. They're designed for maximum efficiency and unmatched durability in the toughest of conditions.
With precision engineering and advanced features, Maya Cornheads ensures every kernel counts, giving you the performance and reliability that you need. Get more from your harvest with equipment built to last.
Reach out to your local Maya Cornheads dealer or visit mayacornheads.com to find your perfect match today. Maya Cornheads, harvest with confidence.
So moving me off the farm, always been a big numbers guy. Liked the banking, the lending, that type of thing. So I went to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln for ag business.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's been
We
a
already
tough few years.
Yeah.
Tough few years.
We already gave him gave him crap for his N on his shirt. Stands for knowledge. We know that.
Well, I think the Huskers are ranked for the first time in 7 years now.
And
so
Iowa
it's-
State and
Yes.
North Illinois.
Oh yeah. What
they
about
beat
NDSU?
Notre Dame or whatever. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, what?
They're ranked.
Yeah, they didn't even have a logo for them on the top 25. It's hilarious, but since they beat Notre Dame,
Yeah.
so
That's great. Well, I got an internship in college and hopped into the lending side of things. So I actually started in the underwriting, in the credit and underwriting, and so I got to spend 5 years reviewing literally thousands of financials, which was awesome for me. It's numbers, and frankly, I learned more about farming reviewing those financials in, to give you context, 2011 to 2016. So if you think about where commodity prices went, what the balance sheets looked like for these farmers, we peaked in 12 and 13, and then we just kind of tumbled until 19, essentially 2019. So it was really valuable and helpful for me to do the underwriting loan decision making during those years and seeing how your working capital really just disappears with commodity prices shrinking and the difficulties that farmers see on the financial side of things. And so that was just a good understanding, getting more knowledge on the balance sheets. And then I've been in ag lending now for 7 years. So taking some of that knowledge from the underwriting, the reviewing of financials, balance sheets, tax returns, and now helping my own customers get their ground bought.
very cool.
That's great that you had that opportunity to learn from the analysis side.
Absolutely.
Because there's, we'll get more into it later, but there is such a disconnect between those that are underwriting and doing the analysis and those that are technically in the sales role, which is the lending side.
And as with anything good in a man's life, I can thank my wife for that, because I would have hopped straight into lending right to begin with, but she was getting her a double master's degree
Holy
in
smokes.
Omaha, and so I chose
A double
to,
master's in what?
She was public health and then a PA, physician assistant.
Wow.
So if you're a doubles master's, does that basically make you a doctor?
Darn near.
Darn
Darn near.
Almost MD.
Yes, almost MD. So I have her to thank for kind of being stuck in that role. I was begrudged it a little bit at the time, but invaluable resources and knowledge learned at that point in time. So able to pass that information along to help grow my own operation and my customers' operations as well.
Was that a hard choice to get off the farm? I mean, did you always want to go back and farm and that's it, or did you want to get into lending?
I didn't have a huge desire to get back to the farm,
Yeah.
but the longer I'm away from it now and the further away, I appreciate it more when I go back now than when I did at the time.
Yeah, because that's a lot of the times the stories we get is people just love operating equipment or they just love working with livestock, and that's the piece that really gets them up in the morning and everything to do about it. And you very rarely hear the people that say, I just love the business side of farming.
I love buying real estate, ag real estate. So I like helping producers find the ground, find creative ways to get the ground bought and financed. And frankly, I've been doing it a little bit myself too.
How old are you?
I would be 34.
34, and you own land.
Yep.
That's pretty dang good.
Well, it's nothing compared to my farming producers. They usually get started pretty early, but I started renting ground in 2018 to make myself eligible for the FSA joint financing programs. As soon as I was eligible, I got some ground bought, and then 2 years later, I 1031'd that ground into some additional properties.
So explain to the listeners that don't understand how you become eligible for those programs.
So for the FSA joint financing, you need to have at least 3 years of basically Schedule F income. So they want you to be managing and producing, making farm decisions.
One of those years can be education, right?
It can be. So
Yes.
you start with 3, but you can back into it a little bit. So if you get a degree in agriculture at a university, then it backs off to 2 years. If you can provide some type of proof that you've been really involved on farm decision making, you don't necessarily have to have the 3 years or 2 years.
But there's no maximum for that. You could have 10 years.
You can be phased out of it. So if you're too strong financially, they won't give you the loan.
Right, but that has nothing to do with the years of
I
experience.
thought
It's a
you
financial
could
position.
phase out at year 10.
I believe at year 10 you can phase out.
Okay.
But the thing is let's say you become eligible after year 3, you don't buy until year 9, well then your 10-year window starts again. So once you make your first purchase, you then have 10 years to be within the program. So while it took me 2 years before I bought my first piece of ground, my 10-year window starts again. I did a 1031 exchange after 2 years. I have 8 years left after I did my 1031 exchange, so I can keep playing
So you
that
keep
field for a
using
little
it
bit. Yeah,
until you don't qualify because you are too income sufficient.
that's the dream. Yep, we hope so. We hope so that I disqualify myself.
I was cognizant of this as well when I was going to Iowa State, and I think in 2008 or 9 I started renting some ground from Dad.
Yeah.
Basically to get my experience, so I was making the decisions on it, and I wanted to get qualified for that loan. Well, immediately when I became qualified, that was when land first hit $10,000 an acre in our area, which it was. I remember looking at ground that was $4,000 or $5,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
And wanting to pull the trigger, and Dad's going, "No, that's too much. That's too much." And I'm like, "Oh, come on! It almost cash flows. It's there." And then it went nuts, and I was actually in my 10th year of eligibility when in 2020 or whatever, right there, right before COVID, and I was like, I got to pull the trigger now, or I'm not going to be able to do it.
And you did it?
I did it.
Awesome.
And I did it. 3 days
That's
before COVID shut down. Literally, I bottomed the market at $76.50 an acre for 81 CSR ground. But 2 days after they accepted the offer, our ethanol plant's calling and saying they're shutting down for the next month, and they don't know when they're going to open back up.
Shoot.
And it's like you're really questioning, like, oh boy, did I do the right thing?
Yeah.
But turns out, I've sold that. Didn't want to sell it, but got offers like, well, if you take the emotion out of it, and it's like, well, it makes sense. I've been able to 1031 twice now.
That's great.
And it's been fun.
Speaking of emotion, with you not physically being there on the farm, do you feel like that helps you? Do you feel like there's less emotion involved, or does it still get you?
Well, like Corey just said, I'm more willing to 1031 because I'm not as attached to the property, I guess you could say. So it helps in that manner. But no, I wouldn't say it has too big of an impact otherwise.
So did you sell all your grain this year?
So I don't have any grain bin storage, so it's forward contract, it's sell ahead, it's work with a marketer. So I made most of my sales in December and January for this 24 crop.
There you go. No wonder he's in a good mood.
Sometimes if you don't have the storage, you don't feel like you got to use it. So then you probably do get a little more aggressive, right?
Well, and part of that comes to my background too. So Tanner, I grew up, or I was in underwriting in 12, 13, 14, 15, reviewing these balance sheets. And in 2014 and 15, the strongest balance sheets still have $5 corn on their balance sheet because they forward contracted ahead by 2 years. And so they're still selling and delivering $5 corn.
Which was hard because 2 years ago you were selling corn for $6, $7.
So they don't ride the wave.
All right.
They take the middle ground. It's the average. So they probably didn't sell corn for $7. They probably sold it for $4.50. It went up, but then they caught the $5, and they're not going to lose money today.
Right. But he's right. That's what we're seeing right now a lot in this environment is some of those strongest balance sheets are the ones that have forward contracted crop. And there's not going to be a lot of those people, at least from the marketers that we've talked to and from the folks that we've gotten emailing us. It's going to be a battle.
Well, and think about the environment that we're in this year, in 2024. So our highest 24 new crop corn price was on January 1st or January 2nd, whatever you want to, wherever you want to place that.
Yep.
So a lot of the balance sheets that I did with farmers took place over the winter. So we have $4 corn on our balance sheets. Well, they didn't deliver that corn or I'm sorry, did I say $4? $5.
$5
They had $5 corn on their balance sheets, but they didn't. It was unpriced. They sold it in March for $4.50 or whatever it may be. So we overstated all of our balance sheets that we put together, and now we're going to go in a full cycle. We're going to wait a full year, see all that crop. 50,000 bushels delivered for $1 less than what it was priced on the balance sheet. We're going to show balance sheet losses because we were misstating, technically, kind of.
Well, the balance sheet is a snapshot in time.
Exactly.
At that time, you were not misstating.
It was an accurate balance sheet at the time.
Right.
But it's going to create larger losses for the 24 year.
I know it's a pain in the butt, or people think it's a pain in the butt, but we've talked about having that advisory team. And if you had an advisory team set up the way that we've suggested, you have more timely meetings.
Yeah.
It doesn't take very long to update a balance sheet when you do it more frequently.
Absolutely.
Because you've got less changes. So
Absolutely.
if you came back in March, and then you came back in July, and you came back in August right before you went to the field, all of those things are not a surprise.
Exactly. And it helps with the decision making going into the fall, because you might think that you are in a position to go buy ground right now, but you don't actually have the working capital that you thought that you have.
Right.
So when did you start buying ground?
I also bought ground in 2020, but it was in November of 2020.
November.
And it was an outdoor auction in late November, like the week before Thanksgiving in Nebraska.
Are you all honking your horns from the truck?
Yeah, we all went to the truck during the breaks.
I've never been to one of those auctions where you sit in your truck and dial your radio to that. I want to go to one of those.
It wasn't quite that way. We had to
Yeah.
get out of our pickups to bid, but
Okay.
it was 30 degrees out. You had a 30-mile north wind, so everyone was in their winter coats. You didn't look at anyone else. You're just hunkered down. It was 0-degree wind chill from an out-of-area realtor that had bad marketing, and I bought it for way less than what I went into the auction planning to bid for.
We
Yeah.
love those
They
auctioneers.
They should have hired Whitaker Marketing Group. Got better.
But those are some of the things that these young producers should be looking for.
Yep.
I know Big Iron's huge around here, and they seem to pull a premium. But yeah, be prepared for the Big Iron auction. But go find the piece. My piece in particular was 41 farmable acres, but it was 68 total acres. And so I just did the math from a farmable acre standpoint. I had 6 acres to clean up, so I cleared trees out. We did a lot of work on that property. There was a tree line going around half of the field, and it was impacting yields. So we cleaned a lot up. We improved the cash flow on the property. We created sweat equity, and that's why I 1031 the property then.
Right.
Because I created the equity. The faster you move the money, the quicker you can grow that wealth.
So
Yeah.
how? You got a question?
No,
Okay.
I was just going to say, and interest rates were perfect at that time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was really sad to do the 1031 exchange and lose that 3.5%, but it was time to
I
move on to
collateral
something else.
subbed mine the first move.
Oh, really?
Just to keep some of that on the books.
Yeah.
Which with FSA was a nightmare.
I was going to say, how did you even pull that off?
Huh?
It took
Yeah.
a little insider knowledge.
Yeah, I don't even know if it was insider. It was just a lot of like, because the guy at FSA was like, "What are you trying to do?" Like not, and then
Yeah.
I had my lender that was like, "No, this is a normal thing. Like as long as we close on the same day and all that." And I'm like, "Heck yeah!" So
Wow, you gave me no props for coming up with that idea.
Tanner did come up with that.
Kyle's going to clip
Was
that.
not my lender though. I will say that.
We are going to clip that. So my question was going to be, you go to this auction, 30 below zero, and you're going to use that FSA package for financing.
Yeah.
That's usually not very easy to do in an auction standpoint because the turnaround is very quick and FSA doesn't move quickly.
I didn't sign the purchase agreement at the auction. So my dad bought the ground for me, and then I went and bought the ground from him. So it was double closing cost expense. But yeah, it takes 6 weeks to 3 months
Yeah,
to close
so
those
that-
FSA financing.
that's
So you have
what
to
I-
have other stuff lined up.
But
I've
that's what I
also-
enjoy about this conversation and why we're going to end up hitting on a lot of that is how creative you get.
Yeah.
At least from the outside looking in, it appears that you try to think outside the box.
Yeah.
You're going to need probably at least at a minimum 45 days, and normal after an auction is probably 30. But I found when I would call the auctioneers before the auction, a lot of times they didn't have a hard closing date. And would just ask if the sellers would be willing, if it was a first-time buyer using FSA, if they'd be willing to negotiate or move back the closing date. And most of the time, unless they had a state to settle by a certain point, they're always like, "Oh yeah, not a problem."
So ask the question.
Yeah.
You never. I mean, be told no
Yep.
before you think that it's a no.
Yep.
Think outside of the box. Have your panel of experts around to give you ideas to think outside of the box. Because if you've never seen
Yeah.
it, you're not going to know what to ask for.
Yep.
And try to do it.
So have all your buys been at auction, or have you been able to buy privately since then?
So I did buy a private bid. So it was just a sealed bid send in on that one. Not as good of a bargain probably, but if you look at the land value trends, roughly every 10 years, land is going to be appreciating double, not quite double, but I took the mindset at that point in time. I knew interest rates were going higher because of my profession. We're talking 2022 right now.
Yep.
I ended up getting the ground bought in early 2022, so I beat the rates up, which I knew we were going to have a window of a couple years where it wouldn't be advantageous to buy because of high interest rates. So I beat the rates up, got something bought quick. But would you rather have a piece that's worth $300,000 in doubles over the next 10 years, or do you want to have a piece that's worth $1 million in doubles in the next 10 years?
Absolutely.
So I went and hurt my cash flow some, but wanted that net worth gain, that equity gain from just owning a bigger property.
I wonder how many of our listeners look at that scenario and think the same way, that there's a long end and net worth is typically the long game. We understand cash is king. We say that a lot on the podcast as well for the short term. I mean, that's what gets you through today. But there is a balance. You kind of made a move like that recently of looking at a long-term potential gain, and times are tight.
Right. Yeah, no, I overpaid for the ground that I got now. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I wasn't just going with the flow on my other two transfers. I wanted to say too, I had a similar experience at the auction.
Okay.
It no-sailed. So
that's
like
great.
I said, it was right before COVID.
Yeah.
And they went from an in-person auction to a phone auction, not online or nothing, because they had 3 days to figure it out. And so people are literally on the phone, saying their bidder number and bid.
Great.
And it was the most awkward thing ever. I was sitting with my ag lender
This
when
is
we did
Corey
that.
Hillebo, bidder 42,
Yeah, no.
4,000.
Well, I didn't say that, but you could tell some of the big wigs that were doing that, like throwing their name around, and they no-sailed it. And because I was top 2 bidders or 3 bidders, like I got in the,
That's why you got to
the
participate.
flow of things. And,
Yeah.
and they came back to me the next day, and we negotiated, and we got it.
That's great.
So
That's great. But Tanner, you had mentioned too, it's a balance between the cash and the cash flow. So with that 1031 exchange, because I was working with the FSA financing programs and because I had created sweat equity in my first property, I was written a check for $45,000 at closing. So I bought a bigger property, significantly bigger property, had bigger loans, and I got cash deposited into my account to improve my cash position, knowing that we're going into a downturn and I have a tight cash flow. I mean, it's creating that balance. You can do that with loans and loan structure, and you got to be smart about it. You have to know your position and what you're doing, but there's ways to do it.
Not all debt is good debt, but it can be very advantageous when it's needed.
Yeah.
I think what opened my mind, you said, do you think very many people think of this scenario? I was probably one of those people that was just, I obviously it took me 10 years to use my loan. I was sitting there complaining, well, all these investors and all this development and all that, and I just can't compete. I just can't compete, and I'd complain. But what good does that do? Like, it's like figure out a way. Find something that is not as desirable, find an auction that's not going to work. There's ways to do it. I mean, so we got to figure out the opportunities.
Absolutely.
So, and I don't know how we do that, but you just keep trying and trying and trying. If you want it bad enough, you'll figure it out.
Exactly. It's different for every single person. No matter who you are, your opportunity is going to look different. It might have some pasture on it, and all of a sudden my opportunity is now I've got 10 cows, 20 cows.
Right.
Or I lease that pasture off. It just find that opportunity and not be afraid to get the people in your corner to help you get it done.
Yeah. If you're young, you're long in work or, long in labor. And those big investors might not want to deal with fixing that fence or taking trees out or, all that kind of stuff. So.
And you have the local knowledge and know-how to do it. You have the resources, the connections that if there's sweat equity involved, you have the people that can, know the area. You can get prices really quick on what the work's going to cost, and you have a better feel for, is this the good piece of ground that the investors are chasing, or is this maybe a subpar piece of ground that they are way overpaying for? So use that to your advantage as well.
So is most of the ground that you've bought close to where your family's operation is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Kind of.
Yeah.
So I'd say the first property I bought was right across the road. The second property I bought was actually about 10 miles away from the headquarters, and we don't have any other farms there. And that's another way to find deals. It's a county over from the rest of our operation. But we have dry land selling in my area. We had dry land go for $12,000 an acre. And I'm buying for less than $9,000 if you go 10 miles away.
Right.
So, it's something that I'll 1031 and get close sooner. But when ground's available, sometimes you just got to pull the trigger, even if it's not the most convenient right now.
See, on my second one, I went 2 counties, it was 60 miles away. I wasn't even farming it, right? As soon as I took the emotion out of I need to farm the ground that I'm buying, which I wanted to. I desperately would love to buy something across the road.
Yeah.
But it just made more sense. It was a farm that was irrigated and had a way higher APH and we don't have irrigation in Iowa, so this is weird. And then I bought it basically pattern tiled and all that kind of stuff, and it's got the best of all worlds.
Yeah.
And it's the thing cash flows, 50-50 crop sharing it.
So it was a great move.
Right? And so I take the emotion out that I need to be the one farming it.
You're still not farming the one you got now.
I'm still not farming the one I got now. So, I mean, it's crazy. I do want to farm. That is my goal. It might not sound like it when I'm talking about this, but I've kind of separated the two, owning land and farming as 2 separate businesses.
Who knows? If you ended up buying something you had to farm, maybe you wouldn't be here today. You wouldn't have time for it.
Right. Well, I do hardly have time to do anything anymore. The way Tanner's got me running around here.
Let's hear it.
No, we're good.
Okay.
Rachel knows.
So as you sit down with these clients, you've obviously figured out a strategy that works for you, but how do you get to the bottom of helping them balance their dreams or their goals or what their ambitions are for their operation?
So you'd be surprised how few producers know their own dreams or goals. So the first question is me just asking them as a lender is, where are you trying to get 5 years from now? Or is your goal to pay down debt? Are you needing to buy out family, a landlord, take over dad's equipment line? Or are you really trying to grow this thing quick? So it's just, I mean, the first step is identifying which route you want to go. You could say that you want to buy ground, but if you're running the newest line of equipment and trading equipment every 2 years, you're never going to get that ground. So you've got to be able to identify what your goals are and then focus on that.
I want
It's
all of it.
oversimplified, but
Right.
that's really what it is. Most people haven't identified which route they're trying to go.
What?
I just watched a spider come all the way down and floated right onto your arm.
Bit
So
me?
I
Now I'm going to be
didn't bite
Spider-Man?
you. Yes. That would be cool.
So let's get into your newsletter and your stuff that you've been doing on X.
Yeah.
Was that before ag lending or after ag lending, or when did that all come about?
It was about 18 months ago, so
Okay,
it would
so
have been in the
after.
early 2023. I started, well, let me back up. I've been sending a weekly email to my customers for a while.
Okay.
So
Just
know,
like
I'd
a
have,
value add
Yeah,
thing?
value
Okay.
add, because
Yep.
there's always WASD reports coming out. There's insurance deadlines. It's, the big thing right now is, well, what's the Fed going to do with the interest rates? And they're meeting here in September. So just little updates that producers kind of need to know. You can delete it if you want, but I started there with my customers, and I had about 40, 50 people that were taking that in, and just thought that with my unique experience of growing up on the farm, doing the underwriting and really knowing the financials fairly well, I like to think, and then doing egg lending myself and seeing how other producers get creative, because none of these are my ideas. I watch my producers do these brilliant things, and I think, why didn't I think of that before? Why haven't I done that? And I wanted to help as many of the next generation as possible, because it is hard to compete against the investors and the established operations, and we know that farms are consolidating, and I want to help those next producers. So I got out of just sending it to my customers and created my own website and just started doing a weekly newsletter there. So that went from 40 people to close to 700
Wow.
here in the last, year and a half, not quite.
Wow.
So that was kind of the aim of just finding a way to help more people do this, because why do I need to keep that knowledge to myself? And I have an abundance mindset, spread that out as far as possible to try to help as many people as possible buy ground, in particular the 20 to 30-year-old producers.
So
So where did the Farm640 come from?
There's 640 acres in a section. So I just thought of it one day. I guess with my newsletter, I usually hit 4 topics, and so my logo is, it's the section. So I hit the northwest, the northeast, the southeast, and the southwest as far as topics that are covered. So it just kind of, I don't know. I'm really bad at marketing, and that's just the theme that I went and ran with. But
I
just
love
trying to help producers. I mean, the goal was always to buy the farm next to you. So guys would love to own the section someday. So that's what I'm trying to help them do, is find ways to own the ground right across the road and grow their operation.
So I was trying to think
What
of
an easy way to explain it, too.
I was trying to think of it like 365 doesn't go to these
And
things,
360
but-
is a full circle.
Yeah, I'm
and-
like,
I was like, it's not 2 circles, because that'd be 720.
yeah.
Like, where's he going? That makes complete sense.
640 acres in a section.
Yeah.
So now that you have nearly 700 subscribers, those aren't all customers.
No.
Those are people that have learned of it, saw your X content. How are you getting more people to subscribe?
Through X, pretty much. So I'll throw some teasers out there for what my next newsletter is going to look like, but I've built spreadsheets, I built decision trees, I built a 30-day auction guide to help producers. When we're talking about, give the realtor a call, see if you can go past the closing date. Built
Right.
some of those resources and ideas to get people thinking a little bit about how they can work outside of the box, have the entrepreneurial mind, and get some ground bought. So starting on X, kind of pushing people to the newsletter, which is really where the more of the value add comes, and the deeper thinking, decision-making articles that are out there.
Sounds really familiar.
Yeah. So do you field like a lot of questions from these subscribers?
So that's why I've got the Farm Buying Toolbox is going on right now. So I've got a product here for just this week that I'm basically pooled all my resources, the balance sheet training videos, the spreadsheets, and all of the articles, content, the auction guide. I kind of pooled that all together to ship out to people because I was getting too many requests from people wanting me to review their operation and sit down and really go over
Right,
everything.
because at some point, like, you have an employer that you need to do your job, right?
It's just not efficient at all. So I
Yeah.
tried to pool all my content and just say, here's really everything that I have to offer. If you read through this and take it seriously, this will help you get ground bought. This is everything that I would be talking with you about. Watch these 55 minutes of balance sheet training videos to really understand how to build an accurate snapshot of today, and then understand the ratios, where you should be, and then start do some scenario planning with the purchase. So it's all there, it's all packaged, and then it saves everyone some time.
And this is all free?
God dang. You know,
The Farm Buying Toolbox is not, but the newsletter is.
Newsletter is free.
oh,
Yeah.
my brain is running so many spots right now. This is going to be...
Dump it.
This is... Nope, not on air.
Not on it.
That's cool. You know, Farm4Profit started because I wanted to do something different than every other lender where I was working.
Mm-hmm.
And it started as an in-person meeting, and then we took the guests that were speaking, the experts off the stage, and put them on podcast. And it's grown into something that we never would have imagined, and we love every second of it. And it just makes you want to reach out to more people.
Yeah.
The more people that can get your newsletter, the better agriculture overall is going to be. It's not that we need to find the next secret. Sure, if you can be cutting edge, you can be the first person to find something in your area, great, good for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the point. The point is if we can make agriculture a better business as a whole, we thrive.
Yeah.
Everything moves forward.
Yeah.
It's like a toolbox, right?
That's
he
what he's
said.
got.
It's exactly what it is. It's not, there's no magic tool in there, but it's full of whatever you need to fix the problem.
And you know what? Just like with the toolbox, if I were to hand one to you right now, it's going to do nothing if you do nothing with it.
Right.
So it's all stuff that you're going to have to pick up. You're going to have to learn, study, and frankly get into those spreadsheets, dig real deep, and figure out what you really want and where your focus is going to be. Do you want to buy ground and grow or not? Are you going to take this seriously or not? Are you going to control your expenses and budget or not?
Here at Farm4Profit, we believe that great crops start with great partnerships. Ag Explorer is a family-owned company focused on providing the gold standard in plant nutrition, backed by cutting-edge agronomy education.
They're not just selling products, they're helping farmers achieve long-term success with innovative solutions that improve yields and soil health. Trust the experts who care as much about your farm as you do. That's Ag Explorer, where family values meet innovation in the field. Do you deal with anything on not just buying the ground, but just maybe gaining ground, like on the lease side of things?
Yes, I have fielded questions on that, and I've got some content within the toolbox there as far as negotiating with landlords, what approach you can take, and a lot of that's around just creating multiple options for the landlord.
So what are some teasers that we could give the Farm4Profit audience? What's some tools in the toolbox that you could spill today?
Well, the landlords, when it comes to negotiating, you want to create as many options as possible for them. So they might come and say, we're not going to rent this to you anymore. We're just going to go and sell this, and
Right.
we're going to take this to auction, and that's the end of it. Well, what you should do from going back to your landlord is, you could offer to adjust the rent, do a share. You could go shares. You could do a flex rent. You could see if that's something for them. You'd also see if they would entertain seller finance or seller carry
Lease to own.
on the deal,
Yeah.
because remind them of the capital gains. They're probably not aware of it.
Right.
A lot of them have inherited the ground and aren't aware of the expenses, and so make them aware of some of the lease to own options that are out there, and then frankly give them your purchase price up front as well.
Yeah.
Let them know. Don't just sit back and let them go and sell the ground. Create some options.
We've
for
been
them.
through that scenario a lot, right? They might want $15,000 an acre, or think that they can go get that at auction, and you're sitting there going, I could, 9 or 10 would be an okay buy, or whatever, even though I can't cash flow that. And Tanner's helped me out quite a bit. It's like, hell, we'll pay them $17,000 an acre by the time we're done paying interest.
Yeah.
If they're the bank, right?
Yeah.
If they don't need the lump sum.
Get organized and show them that. You can
Yeah.
you can create a spreadsheet
Yeah.
and
And
provide
if you're
that.
purely just scared to go have that conversation with your landlord, the number of farms that Dave sells to the tenant, he doesn't sell. He gives the landlord the valuation for the farm, and they go to the tenant. Most of those relationships, they want you to have it.
Yep, absolutely. So it's little things like that. Just it's acquiring ground in any way, shape, or form, mostly through purchase, but there are other options out there.
What
That
else
is
you
good.
got for dumping?
Well, I just love the idea that there's other financiers out there. There's other folks that are included on the farm advice, the farm lending side that just care about having customers, people around them, have a greater understanding.
Yeah.
You're not selling them. You don't want them to all be your customers. That'd be great. You'd be nuts. You wouldn't even know what to do with 700 customers.
No. It takes a lot of time to put a real estate note together.
Right. So besides that, you're just helping. It's that abundance mindset. Same thing with us. We could have had this interview today and kept it to ourselves, and Corey could have went and bought and leased a whole bunch more farm ground and never shared it with anybody else.
Yeah.
Why X? Did you know that was going to be your Twitter? Did you know that was going to be your spot to spread this?
No real reason. I created an account in like 2013 and hadn't used it for over a decade, or basically a decade, and that's just I guess I knew of Ag Twitter.
Yeah.
So I was aware that there's Ag Twitter out there and there are some individuals out there, but it's the only social media that I had.
Yeah.
And I ran with that, and it's been a lot of fun because the connections have been just amazing. There's so many awesome people in ag, and you want to get to know every single one of them once you forge those relationships. So it's been awesome.
You and Clint Fisher have been some of the best follows the last few years, coming on, and we had Clint on. His show hasn't came out yet.
It'll be pretty close to this one, actually.
But just, you guys are great dudes and putting out quality content. And every time someone comes to me and be like, how do you even get on? Why on Twitter? I can't. Every time I go on there, it's just a bunch of crap. I got to sift through it. I'm like, if you can sift through it, there's guys like you and Clint on there that it's like, it is gold.
Well, the funny thing is, if you actually go into your settings and get rid of some of that crap, the only thing that pulls up for me is your motivational day-to-day stuff in ag.
Yep.
So clean it up and find the stuff that you like. But actually, I do have Clint pulled in on the Farm Buying Toolbox, so he's including a 1-year membership to his site for free.
Oh, that's so cool.
With it, which my offer will be expired by the time this comes out, but I'll probably try to run it again, maybe November, December time period, because when people are looking to buy again. Right. So we'll see if we come up with something new or something different come that time.
Do you follow many outside of ag in the world of like real estate?
So it's fun to follow the commercial real estate guys.
I do too. I think it's just so interesting.
But that's where your outside investors are coming from to go buy ag ground. So you need to know what they're doing and how they approach things, because I mean, frankly, too many people in ag finance, it's a one-trick pony. It's we buy ground, we finance it at 65%, you pay cash for the rest, and that's how we're going to complete this transaction.
Yep.
That is not what your competition is doing when it's these investors. They are so sophisticated and have so many methods to buy ground. It's really fun to follow them and come up with new ideas, because you can take almost any finance idea that they have or they use to complete a transaction. You can put your own ag twist on it, and here we go. We've got a new way to buy ground.
Yep. Yeah, I follow some of those guys that do like storage units and all that kind of stuff. It is just, if you can pick out the little nuggets in there, it's
gold.
It is. It is.
It's really good stuff.
I think I could move the schedule around and we could put him out right after Clint.
Oh, yeah?
Wouldn't that be a 1-2 punch for a week?
Clint is so good.
What time are you talking?
Good.
That would be that'd be basically the middle of October.
Perfect combine lesson.
Yeah. That might fit a
prime
November
time.
release.
Yeah.
I just love that that's what you're here for. You understand that you're farming. Some may view that as competition, but you're not doing it for that. You're doing it for your personal goals, where you're headed. You have an understanding of finance, so you're going to use every tool at your disposal to make that happen, to meet those goals, and then you're sharing that. You started with your customers, but now you're not afraid to share it with everybody else.
Yep.
So what's next? What's next in Farm 640?
Well, with the toolbox literally opening 2 hours ago, that was kind of my goal that I was reaching towards. So we'll see what the calendar year brings. I would love to partner with some different businesses and ag experts out there. Maybe some podcasts.
I'm surprised you don't have one yourself.
I think there's plenty of good options out there. I can't keep up with my own podcast. So no, we'll just hop on things like this. But, if I do a November release, I'd want to probably do it with some affiliate partners and try to get the word out more. So, work with the different people on AgX and the connections that I've made to see if we can kind of combine resources and see how many people we can help out.
Do you see a world that this is what you do and you don't ag lend anymore?
You do it. I was going to ask.
No.
No.
I love ag lending too much, and I get.
You people are weird.
I was hiding my face.
Emphasizing you people.
I was hiding my face.
It's I love working with my customers. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the first and foremost thing, and you gain so much insight from them and what they're doing, and they motivate me.
I gotta imagine you probably pick up some new customers for being such a value, right, from this?
I hope so. Maybe
Right.
not as much as you would hope at this point, but
Yeah.
I know I'm helping a lot of people because I've got the messages and the people reaching out, and they really appreciate it. So, and frankly, I don't need to hear that. It's just more or less I want them to get the ground bought.
Freaking Rick.
So let's get more into Grant.
Yeah, this has turned into a major profit show.
I love it. It's
I knew it was. I
great.
knew it was.
But Corey already said that we were weird, but you also enjoy running, or at least you're trying to figure out how to enjoy running.
Also, you people.
Yeah, the running thing. I don't know. I ran a half marathon in college, and then I didn't run for over a decade. And picking it up again, I'm a morning person. I've got to get up. I've got to spend an hour basically by myself before the kids wake up. So we're going to do some reading. We're going to do some self-improvement stuff, and the exercise is important. And I've had to learn to pace myself with the running, especially when you go and do a marathon. That's definitely a pace, and it's a slow one. But it's also a mental grind. It's just a huge mental hurdle to overcome, and starting to find new ways to find mental hurdles for myself to overcome.
Yeah, it's hard to spend an hour by yourself when some of these running distances takes you longer than an hour to run.
Yeah, 4.5 hours in my particular instance. I'm not going to say I'm fast with it, but that's a long time to be mentally connected with what you're doing.
If our good friend Michael Bergen, big Twitter guy, he's over in Tokyo right now. He
Yep.
would definitely be here if he wasn't. He's with the corn growers over there. But he actually is a big runner.
Yeah,
Like ultra marathon.
Mike's becoming a problem for me because
Yeah.
we had lunch a couple weeks back,
Yeah.
and we had talked about that a little bit, and he's really pushing for me into the ultra side,
Yeah.
which you can go from a 26 mile to a 32 mile would be an ultra, so it's only 6 more miles
Only.
at that point.
He's a
so-
pacer. He'd come pace you.
Yeah, I know he's a lot quicker than I am.
Yeah.
I come to find out
That's not his job as
That's
a pacer.
true.
He is
That's
a problem in everything he does for everyone. Why does he become a problem?
But no, I've enjoyed the push from Mike. He's exposing me to some of these ultras that are out there, so that might be on my radar for 2025. We'll see if I can't get a 32 miler in.
He has trouble. He was commenting on some of our stuff on Facebook, and my wife comes running up the stairs, and she goes,
She didn't know he was.
"Who is this Michael?" And I said, "Michael who? What? Bergeron? I don't know, but he says he's the one that made you famous, and that we owe him money, and whatever it was." She's freaking out. She goes, "You need to delete the comment. There's some other Rick guy that's responding." Freaking Mike and Rick.
Mike and Rick.
So tell me that story. Why does Mike think that he owns Farm4Profit?
He thinks we blew up right after he did his interview here. This exact
So he
spot
was one of
last
those
year.
early.
No, this was just last year.
Yeah, so I mean, it's been a podcast for 5 years, and this was in the 4th year. But just because he brought his homemade barbecue sauce and I squirted all over Tanner's face in the interview,
I
might have
did
been
see
having
that
some
one.
beers,
Yep,
like
yep.
it got a little out of hand. He thinks that we blew.
It's a turning
blew up from
point.
him.
We
Yeah.
got access to the Mormon group.
No, Mennonite.
Mennonite. We got access
The Mennonites.
to access to the
Yeah,
Mennonite
yeah.
group.
It's not the Mormon. What is that on TikTok? The Mormon mom.
That's right.
Deal or whatever. Right now.
I think we said Amish. We call it. We don't understand it.
I don't either. But
They're
you'll have to have
outsiders.
Mike on again to explain that one.
Oh, he would.
Yeah.
He would spend that time absolutely explaining that.
We should call him and see if he'd answer sometime in one of these shows from Tokyo.
What's that time difference look like?
It's
Would he
at
be
14 hours, either ahead or it was like night there right now.
Yeah.
But
He's
he was
still
eating,
probably up.
I'm pretty sure he was eating raw horse yesterday on
Okay.
Snapchat. So
He
which
was
sounds like a
telling
Bergen
you
thing.
it was raw. You also, like you said, your time spending by yourself. You do a lot of self-help reading,
Yeah.
but you read a lot of books in general.
Yeah.
What's a good book or two?
I love the book The Wealthy Gardener, and that one is not very well known at all, but you read through that book, and every single chapter is just a huge life lesson and great takeaways, both from finance but also from the self-improvement and mental side of things. It's creating discipline within your life and saving money, having a budget. It's all kind of wrapped into one. So it's It's a fantastic read. There's like 80 chapters in that book, but they're all just a couple pages.
80 chapters.
It's only like a 400-page book, so the chapters aren't that long, but it tells a great story with some great lessons. So that one's definitely a keeper.
Well, it's another one.
I just got done reading or listening to Jocko and Extreme Ownership. Starting the One Thing here next. Listening to David Goggins right now. So I bounce around a lot, but a lot of self-improvement stuff.
So is that how you do most of it? Is it's listen? It's not necessarily physically reading it?
Yeah. I mean, a 4-hour run, you can get through half of a book sometimes.
Oh, you're listening while you're...
Occasionally, but you do that long of a run, and it's nice to have something else to
Is the runner high a real thing?
So actually, I ran the State Fair marathon relay here a couple weeks ago, and I was talking about that with a coworker who also ran it, and I decided the runner's high does exist. It's a real thing. It takes place about 30 seconds after the finish line, and it lasts about an hour. So it's never during the race. The race is always misery, and you honestly, I don't know if I've run a race that I haven't cursed it off and swore I'm never going to do it again. And then you hit that runner high, and as my relay partners had shared, that's usually probably when they sign up for the next race, is when they're in that runner's high, that 2-hour window, and then it's just all misery from there.
What's the shoe of choice if you run that often and that far?
I just switched to Hoka and really do enjoy those. I'm going to get another pair. I actually let my kids pick the color out, so they had some fun color schemes, and I'm just really jumping into this running thing, head first with colorful shoes, and the shorts are fairly long still, don't worry there, but we're getting pretty colorful out on the trail.
Okay. I imagine you go through shoes quite a bit when you're on that distance, don't you?
Yeah, it's about 350 miles is when you should be replacing running shoes, and so they last me about a year.
Okay.
About a year, and then...
How are the kids?
Kids are good. Kids are really good. So I've got
What are their ages again?
We're 6, 4, and 2. 2 girls and a boy, and they are so excited to watch the corn changing because that means they get to go ride in the tractor with Grandpa and the combine with Grandpa. So they're excited to make it back to the farm. We're about 2 hours away from the farm, so they're on the day-to-day, but they know when they go back to the farm, it's combine rides, it's tractors, it's cookies, it's looking at the pigs, and it's the baby kittens. So they they eat it up every time. They love it.
That sounds good. Are you back to the lending side of things? The nature of the business right now isn't that great in ag. Are you as an ag lender nervous?
No, not as a whole. So I've got a ton of private deals lined up already for this fall. There's a lot of transactions taking place, and a lot of guys do have the ability to go and buy ground right now. We have to remember we're coming off of 2022, where it was record profits. And you had mentioned, well, we'll get to that in a second, but record profits, and we lost a ton of working capital in 23, and we're going to lose some again in 2024, but frankly, we're in a better financial position for this downturn than we were in the 17, 18, 19 misery. Mm-hmm. We didn't have the working capital built up, and then we went through these years. So as long as we can manage expenses and balance the working capital versus the cash flow, we're in a good spot going into this. And you had mentioned why we only saw one combine running. We got rain. Rain this year, so that's why. It's going to be a later harvest. Last year we were in some pretty serious drought, and we just weren't ready at this time. Or we were, a couple weeks ahead last year.
Yeah. I know talking to Bergen, I don't think he turned the pivots on, and him and Kale, till mid-July or whatever, and their corners look just as good as the inner pivot.
They really only just started separating here in the last week or two, so we've been really fortunate with the rain this year.
So Nebraska's probably going to have a pretty dang good crop coming.
We got some Iowa rains finally.
Yeah.
Normally we've got to be turning the pivots to do that, but we had a real good early summer to keep things wet.
Nice, yeah, and we got way too much Iowa rains.
Rain makes grain, though, right? Or are you dealing with a lot of disease?
Well, in our particular area, we're so flat, it's just a lot of ponds.
Yeah, we don't drain
it doesn't drain as fast enough. Even if you have tile, you're waiting for the drainage district or that kind of stuff. So, we're going to have a 250 bushel corn out in the field, but after you take 5 to 10 acres of 0 or 100 bushel corn and these wet spots and the nitrogen loss that we had, on my personal farm, which I think is one of the, I'm not going to say the worst areas, but when we were flying, between Des Moines and Ames was pretty bad for ponds. So I would say right around average for us.
Okay. And we're probably going to have some of our higher yields, and so we'll be able to yield through some of these prices.
Yeah.
So that helps who I'm working with.
That's good for your group of customers that you work with. What do you have to say to those that aren't in such a good spot?
Well, first you have to identify where those losses are coming from. So I love the balance sheet trend. So I love putting multiple years of balance sheets together and see if your if you have net worth losses, or if the direction your working capital is going. Because obviously everyone and their brother has a cash flow statement, and they update those with yields and expenses. But even if you are just break even this year, which is where a lot of our cash flows were looking, you've got to be following your balance sheet trend, because those cash flows rarely have living expenses on them. And you're missing some things, and you've got depreciation, and you've got all the loan payments. So check that balance sheet trend. If you have more than 2 years worth of losses, or this is your second year worth of losses, you've got to start to identify, are debt levels too high? Is it strictly just bad luck? Has it been insurance claims? You've got to do some self-inspection there, and really get serious with yourself, and find out what went wrong here and start making some changes.
It's a hard pill to swallow, but as soon as you can identify where or what.
And it's always the sooner the better. The sooner you figure that out, the quicker you can take action and correct it. Because unfortunately with a farm balance sheet, it's not like a business where you have like a monthly cash flow and, oh, this month was down, so let's go make a change. No, if you have 3 years worth of losses and you're only tracking financials, every year, you don't have that many swings to get this corrected. Otherwise, you can really dig a hole fast, because you're not identifying those problems for 12 months at a time.
Especially at how high, inputs and all that kind of stuff. Like
it's expensive.
It gets expensive real fast.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
So find it as fast as you can. Work with your lender or other financial advisors to identify if you cannot, and then you've got to start cutting expenses. You've got to shop your inputs around, shop your seed around, find ways to cut costs, maybe restructure debt, maybe sell something, or generate more income.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to find a way to change things.
I mean, if you want to shop seed, you can come to me. Look at some Hogemeyer seed. Yeah. I'll sell it.
I get it. I'm glad that you sat down with us. I'm glad that you were the first interview of the show. Not that I wasn't fired up and ready to go, but man, this all got my blood flowing.
That's why I put him first. I knew it would get you ready to go, talking financials.
Getting to nerd out a little bit on the numbers.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk more too off mic. This will be a lot of fun, because it's more important now than it's ever been. Which is, I hate saying that, because it's always been important.
It's always important.
But people just are realizing now how important it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is some key time. Well, one of the questions we've been asking all of our guests this fall, just to kind of help provide perspective more than anything else to our guests, is how do you juggle work and personal life?
Get organized, I guess. I don't waste much free time. So when I'm in my 8 to 5 job, the focus is solely there. I check email maybe once or twice a day, and I don't just get buried in that. So it's get the work done that needs to get done, have some short to-do lists, and just knock stuff off, and then add to it again. And then, the evenings are for spending time with my kids and DIY house projects for the wife usually. But now we keep the TV off. We don't need to spend too much time on that. So we know what our goals are, and we spend our time doing the things that we need to do to get towards those goals.
Sounds like we're talking to the same person here, you and him.
I know.
And you guys are so organized.
I don't have the beard.
Do you like scheduling?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely. I live out of my schedule.
Yeah, you guys.
If the girls' dance class is not in my calendar, they're not making it. They're not going to be there. It's got to be in the calendar. We've got to be scheduled.
Gymnastics, softball, basketball,
All of it.
all of those together. Yeah, it's fascinating. The beard for me, I grew when I was young in lending, because I found out nobody wanted to work with somebody that they thought was their kid.
Right.
For financial advice.
Yeah. I early in my lending career, I always made sure to let people know, I've been with this company for 8 years. I'm not fresh out of college. I'm much older than you think, and I'd spend as much time aging myself as possible early in the conversation, so they take you seriously.
Yep.
Yeah, I was born in 1974.
I am an 80s baby,
There
so
you go. I know.
There you go.
No,
So if people want to follow you on X or wherever you're at, and then maybe look at your newsletter, how do they do that?
So X, I'm at G Wiese Farms. So that's G, the letter G for Grant, and then Wiese's WIESE Farms. Otherwise, just www.farm640.com, and the homepage will allow you to sign up for the newsletter, which goes out weekly.
Another great tool in your toolbox to help you in all times, but especially in the downtime.
That's right. Well, listeners, hopefully you found some value in this. I know we really had fun having this conversation. We appreciate him for hanging out with us. But if you do have questions for him and you can't locate him, don't be afraid to reach out to us as well. We will make sure the two of you get connected. But one more time, thanks again for doing this recording with
Yeah,
us.
appreciate it. It was a blast.
And listeners, we thank you for listening. So until next time, have a good one.